Yo, welcome back to Good Game Reviews. Here to do another game review. And we are looking at the Raiders versus the Patriots. Las Vegas Raiders, New England Patriots. Week 3. Final score 20-36. Um I mean, not really what I was expecting. I was kind of expecting this to happen, you know, but not in the events that had, kind of unfolded. Um, I projected them to win by 10 points. They won by 16, two scores. So, hey, better than I expected. So, let's just go ahead and get into it. Good, the bad, and everything else. Let's start off with the offense. Let's go ahead and start off with the running game. Now, a big question that a lot of people had coming into this game, what are they going to look like? We had already saw what Cam Newton was able to do week 1, running the ball, using his legs. Week 2, we saw him use his arm, throw the ball almost 400 yards in that game. And the big question that a lot of people had, what else can this offense as a whole provide? Because if they're going to just have to rely on Cam Newton the whole way, then you're going to find yourselves in a lot of tight games and possibly some, multiple losses on the schedule. But the Patriots were able to show that they don't have to rely on Cam Newton all the time. It doesn't always have to be the Superman Cam Newton show all the time. They can find different ways to win. I mean, they've done it before in the past, but for some reason, people had a question about that. Now that you don't have, Tom Brady, and you're seeing that, Cam Newton is making all these plays and he's getting the touchdowns and he's, throwing for almost 400 yards and all that. And it was just something that was on the mind. But the running backs really stepped up in this game, especially Sony Michelle and Rex Burkhead. I mean, Sony Michelle, 9 carries, 117 yards, averaged 13 on the ground, had a long of 48. Now, that's not something that you're going to see throughout the season. I mean, don't get it twisted, but to see him perform like this, it was pretty good. He was running like he was trying to keep his job, okay? As far as Rex Burkhead goes, we've seen games where Rex Burkhead pops off and he has those big days. This was just one of them. 6 carries, 49 yards, average 8.2 on the ground, 2 touchdowns, 2 rushing touchdowns. Also, had the receiving touchdown. He also led the Patriots in receiving yards. So I mean, those guys, Rex, Sony, they obviously stepped up for this game because, I guess whether they knew if Cam Newton was gonna look the way he did or not, it's whatever. Now we see that this team can win in different ways, and it doesn't always have to be on Cam Newton. J.J. Taylor kind of got outshined by the 2 running backs, but still had a decent game. 11 carries, 43 yards, average 3.9. He's definitely a nice find, in terms of, those undrafted rookies and whatnot, that we, pull in each year. A pretty good find. Pretty good find, man. I mean, he's been a delight ever since the first game, I think. People just kind of been a little bit in awe of how good he looks, running the ball. And now you have Damian Harris coming back next week, so it just, adds more depth to this game. Now, we don't know when we'll see James White again. If it's not injury related. But until we see him come back in the fold, these are the guys that we're dependent on right now. So it was great to see. As far as the receivers go, wasn't a big day for the receivers. Julian Edelman, he wasn't, the guy that they were dependent on the game. He didn't have the 179 yard type game that he had last week. only 23 yards on this game, 2 receptions. Very odd. You know, even for like a slow game like this, even for a game where, they're churning the ball on the ground and getting those yards, as far as like the rushing game goes, you would still expect to see a little more production from Julian Edelman, but that's just the way it went. Wasn't a big day for the receivers. N'Keal Harry only 34 yards, Damiere Byrd only 27 yards. It's just the way it went. But like I said again, just a different game plan, wasn't their day. Running backs took over. So where do you want to look at that, as a negative or a positive? I mean, if you want to look at it as a negative, as far as, them not being able to gain more yards against this secondary, then, hey, go ahead and look at that. But I would rather like to see it as running back stepping up, taking a little pressure off of Cam, taking a little pressure off the receivers, showing that they can get the job done, and we don't have to rely on, Julian Edelman to pull us out of the fire all the time, or Cam to pull us out of the fire all the time. As far as the defense goes, kind of an odd day. It's hard to say that they did, really good, but it's kind of hard to say that they did bad either. You can't really say that because of the turnovers that they're able to produce. You had Dedrick Wise play near the end zone where he was able to get the strip sack, able to score also. You had the play with Chase Winovich, who is pretty much looking like their best guy on the defensive line. You had Shalik Calhoun factor in half a sack. Got in with some forced fumbles. So I mean, it's kind of hard to say. Now, you didn't have the day that you would expect, the Patriots to have, as far as like the secondary being dominant and getting the picks and all of that stuff. Wasn't any interceptions on the day, but they did what they did. And while coverage kind of broke at times, they pretty much held it together. Especially, and I really want to put a light on this, Darren Waller. Now, I know Henry Ruggs was out for this game, and that took a lot of ease off of the Patriots defense. I mean, that was just one less thing that they had to worry about. But the way that they were able to shut Waller down, I mean, you can't help but be impressed. I mean, this is still Darren Waller we're talking about. This is not just some easy task. This is possibly like top 10, at least like right now, top 10 or top 5 tight ends in the league right now. At least like what we've seen in like, recent history. Two receptions, 9 yards. I mean, that's their best weapon. We always say Patriots take away your best weapon, and they try to make you, fight them with one hand tied behind your back, and they try to make you go to other players, and, they just refuse to let you use your best guy to beat them. They say, we're going to either make you use your second best guy, or your third best guy, or your fourth, but you're not going to, you have number one option that you got. That guy who leads your team in first downs, the guy who leads your team in receiving yards, the guy who leads your team in targets. No. So, I mean, I really did enjoy what I saw from them as far as being able to contain Waller. I mean, that was a masterpiece right there. As far as the special teams go, not a lot to speak on. I don't have too much praise to heap on Jake Bailey. How I like, to give, Jake Bailey some love. Nothing really too exciting. He did have a long for 54. He had one in 20, but it was whatever, But as far as Nick Folk goes, and I'm not gonna put a whole bunch of hate on Nick Folk, I mean, y'all know my feelings against Nick Folk, but this game, he made all his field goals. Of course, there were some chip shots. He had a longer 33. Um, but he did have the one miss on the extra point, which I just felt, just should have been it should have been automatic. He should have been able to make that. I don't want to give him any slack on that. I just feel like that's something that he should have made, and it's just one more thing that we got to worry about as far as what Nick Folk does and all of that. Now Bill Belichick already came out. I think this was after the Seahawks game, and he expressed that, hey, Nick Folk is our kicker. That's that. I mean, I'm not sure if that's what he said. I'm just kind of paraphrasing, but along the lines of that. He's our kicker. That's that. Case closed. Don't ask me about it. All of that. So until he decides to make a change, I mean, we're pretty much going to be looking at Nick Folk. I thought, Bill Belichick would have been a little more ruthless by now and dropped him like a hot plate, but still, I mean, we're still looking at Nick Folk. So it's whatever, man. It's whatever. I mean, we can't linger on it. We had a good win today, but it's just something that's going to be in the back of people's minds every time they see him step out on the field. What is he going to do? Will this one particular thing that he does cost us the game? It's just going to be something that's ringing in the back of people's minds. So you're going to be thinking about it. But as far as that goes, not a lot of things to harp on. It was a lot more positives in this game than there were negatives, and that's going to be good. Considering that we're going straight into this next week, and we're going to be going against an opponent that we have come to know quite well. And there's been some really good matchups that we've had with this particular team so far. We got Kansas City next week. They're playing Monday night, so we'll see what everything looks like on their side of the ball, on their team. I'll go ahead and do my game prediction on Saturdays like I usually do, because by then you have all the injury reports come in and you kind of have a good idea of who's going to be in the game and who's not going to be in the game. So kind of want to wait until that kind of unfolds, and then we'll go from there. But like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Till next time, I'm out.